Yo, what's up guys? 19 things you may have missed in His Dark Materials. Number 1. Did you notice 3 of the Game of Thrones cast? Gio Mormont, Kevin Lannister, and my boy Davos's boy, Salladhor Saan, the pirate. Alright, there are 18 more things, but I just want to give you a warning. This video is going to have major spoilers, not just for Season 1, but for the entire story, the endgame. But I really want to point out these clues that we get in Episode 1, because they'll eventually pay off at the end of the entire story, which goes to show just how well these books and the show are written. So close out before the bridge ends if you don't want to hear that kind of stuff.
Be very careful.
Alright, spoiler time. We're going to start light and build up to the big ones as we go through these. Number 2. Episode 1 introduced us to the Magisterium, and it also showed us this little Venn diagram of Earth, and it overlaps with Heaven and Hell. The reason this is cool is because eventually, like YouTuber Jack pointed out in the comment section of the Episode 1 breakdown video, we are going to get some angels. That's right, there are angels in this story, as well as a bunch of other gnarly species, for lack of better words. Number 3. In this scene, we see the Alethiometer for the first time, but listen to what the Master says.
It's time.
Now, he's not referring to the Alethiometer, but I'd be shocked if that line was unintentional, because it's a misdirect. So the Alethiometer, it looks like a compass or even a clock, but it doesn't tell direction and it doesn't tell time, it tells the truth. Since deceptions or manipulation through deception plays a major role in so many of the subplots of this story, my hat's off to the writers for having the Master say this,
it's time,
the first time that we see the Alethiometer. Deception. Number 4. The Book of Translations. Actually, I don't know if that's what it's called. I'm going to have to look that up. This is what I wrote down for some reason. Lyra was unable to use the Alethiometer in Episode 1.
Tell me where Roger is.
But this book here, this is what most people do. They study this in order to use the Alethiometer. There are 6 of them. But even with years of practice, it's still really difficult. Now, the Master didn't give Lyra the book. But just wait. She's about to become an Alethiometer pro because there's actually more to this. We're going to come back to this one. But number 5. Did you notice that all the boys and the men, they have female demons, whereas the girls and women have male demons? That's usually the case, but just to be clear, it's not always the case. Some characters, a few of them, have demons that are the same sex as themselves. Speaking of demons, number 6. All the demons have names, and they talk. Wait, does Tony's demon talk?
We do.
Yep, she does. So all the demons have names, and all the demons speak, except Mrs. Coulter's demon, the golden monkey.
A bit of quiet now. Will be best.
We'll get into this in more detail another time, but that distinction, the fact that her demon does not have a name and it does not talk, that speaks to who Mrs. Coulter is, pun intended, and the relationship that she has with her demon. Number 7. The Heart of the Gyptians. The Gyptians are awesome, everyone loves them, but check out this line here.
To protect and fight for the freedoms of all.
How perfect is that? That's exactly who they are. They don't discriminate. I mean, if you're a child and you need help, they're going to be there for you. Expect that line to pay off at the end of the season when they rescue all sorts of children. Alright, these next 2 are just hypotheses. Number 8. Lyra begins to sit down before the Master tells her to.
Now please sit.
That may just be a production mistake, and if so, it's not a big deal. But the reason I point it out is because there might be something more to it. Also in the episode, Lyra told Roger,
Sometimes you've got to have dreams. We're going north, Roger. I just know we are.
So there's a chance that in the show adaptation, Lyra may have some sort of a connection to space-time, a connection to the future, at least on a subconscious level. Or it may just be a nod to how she eventually uses the Alethiometer, sort of at a subconscious level. And in a similar vein, here's another hypothesis. Number 9. Dreams. So Lyra is speaking about dreams, particularly the dream of them both going north. It may not be as expected, but they both do go north. Now let's layer in this line from Mrs. Coulter.
In every child's nightmare, there's an element of truth, Lyra.
So Lyra dreams that they're going to go north, and they do, or they will. And Mrs. Coulter mentions nightmares holding a bit of truth. Truth being such an integral part of the story, I don't know. I say let's keep this on our radar. Lyra's dreams may play a role in the show adaptation. Alright, 10 more. These last 10 are where we're going to get into some major spoilers for Season 1 and the story as a whole, so I'm going to give you one last chance to close out, because these are going to be big spoilers. This is Bridge 4. Number 10. Severing. Check out the word human right here in the intro. So Season 1 is about the severing of a child's demon before the child comes of age, so that slash is pretty gnarly. Similarly, after the opening credits, we also get a slash through the title of the show, His Dark Materials. Number 11.
You're on your own.
Lord Asriel is referring to that specific situation with Lyra hiding there. But that line, you're on your own, it certainly applies to his relationship with Lyra. He left her all alone, in a sense, alone at least from him. The scholars all love her, like a child, as do many others, like Ma Costa, which we'll probably find out about soon. And there are going to be a lot of others as the story advances, such as Lee Scoresby and Yorick Bjornsson. But yeah, that line, pretty fitting. Number 12. Notice how Lyra smiles across an entire room at her friend Roger. It's her best friend. But then she's so entranced by Mrs. Coulter that Roger's right next to her saying hi, and she doesn't even hear him.
Hey, Lyra.
Why is this so important? Think about the ending of Season 1 or what we expect it to be, severing demons from their children. And think about the title of Book 2, The Subtle Knife.
You'll have to tell me which knife and fork to use.
Mrs. Coulter herself is a subtle knife, severing the bond between Lyra and Roger. Number 13. On the flip side, as I pointed out in the Episode 1 breakdown, this hug is a nice addition to the show adaptation. Did you catch Mrs. Coulter's facial expression? She was caught off guard. Her child hugged her. Mrs. Coulter's relationship with Lyra, it's one of the most interesting subplots in the entire story. And in the show version, it all began here with this hug. Now let's look at Lord Asriel, number 14. As I pointed out in the Episode 1 breakdown, Lord Asriel is obsessed with his work, or rather, his mission, his goal. And that mission is the figurative, subtle knife that severed the bond to his child, Lyra. It came between them. This shot here in Episode 1, where Lord Asriel closes a figurative door, pretty symbolic. And number 15 builds on this. So every now and then, we get a softer side of Lord Asriel, like that bedroom scene that they added to the show. We also got this line here.
The North is no place for a child.
That line's cute, but it's more than it seems. Sure, the North is dangerous. The climate, the creatures, and even the humans there, they're all dangerous.
The North is no place for a child.
But that line will take on new meaning when Lyra surprises him up in the North, because he needs to sever the bond between a child and his or her demon. So that's why when she shows up to him, he's gonna freak out when Lyra appears. Like, no! He needs a child, but he didn't want it to be her. Moving on, number 16, Roger's fate. In his very first scene, they run down to the crypts, and Roger says,
You know I hate it down here.
Unfortunately, this is some foreshadowing. Roger's going down in Season 1. Lord Asriel is probably going to split Roger and his demon so as to open up the bridge to the city in the sky. And Lyra's not going to be very happy with that, which leads into an awesome one, number 17. At the end of this scene, Lord Asriel says,
Who will stand against me?
but look who the very next scene cuts to. Lyra. Lyra's going to stand against you, sir. Number 18. The Bung. In the books, we learn that Lyra once hijacked Ma Costa's boat, and the goal was to find the legendary Bung. Basically, a plug in a boat, where you pull it out and the boat sinks. It doesn't exist. It's a myth that the kids have. Well, check out the postcard. Lord Asriel refers to that incident where she stole the boat, and in the books, she talks about the Bung. Now, I'm not going to mention exactly how that pays off, but let's just say the Bung is symbolic of one of the final scenes of Book 3, the ending of the Amber Spyglass, the ending of the story, or at least the ending to the climax of the story. In terms of the end of the story, check out number 19. Here's a clue. Pan's final form. Roger believed that his demon, Salcilia, he thinks she'll settle as an ermine. And when he asks Lyra what she thinks Pan will settle as, she says,
Pan thinks he will be a lion.
I don't.
I think he'll settle as a sloth.
Neither are right. Pantalaimon eventually settles as a pine ermine, which is what Roger believed his demon would settle as, and even cooler, a pine ermine is the form that Pantalaimon has while they discuss what they think he'll settle as. We're going to be going over this in way more detail in a bonus video within the coming weeks, so hit subscribe for that. For breakdown, things you missed, and book for show videos for every single episode. We're going to be doing a lot of his dark materials. All right, let me finish this video because I want to watch episode 2 tonight. I'll talk to you guys. Catch you on the flip side.